Welcome to Zentangle Project Pack No.20. This is day 6. My name is Rick.
Hi, I'm Maria, and today I'm going to take you on a little journey with some mycelium, which is a newish tangle, and we're going to use pretty much all of the pens that we have except for the white jelly roll. All these gray pens are so much fun to work with.
And today you're working on a white Zentangle, right?
Right.
This is one of the new tangles that's named after or inspired by one of our grandchildren, and this one is from Liam.
Liam, who is all about the sea. So I thought, my sea Liam.
Right. We have fun with these.
Yes. Okay, so we want to appreciate our beautiful papers and think about...
You can sort of see that's one of our watermark ones.
Yes, I have all the watermarks, which is kind of cool. So we're going to start out with this kind of a smiley face, swervy line,
Right. So it's like a curve with two curves attached to it, or a curve and an S curve.
So you can do it all in one, or you can do it like I did on above. So it's pretty much like that.
Like three curves together.
Yes.
And that's just for a starting point. You'll see how easily this can adapt.
So I'm going to put my first mycelium towards the top here. And here's that kind of a smirky smile, right? And we're going to shoot some beautiful, vibrant black and white, crazy lines coming up to here. And using that technique from the Tangle Senna, right? Is that like Senna-like? So you're going to weight the end of the line where it meets.
So it comes right up to that line, touches it, and then sort of spreads out.
So we're going to aura this line all the way up, and then we're going to weight it again. You can see I'm curving that weightedness just to give it some elegance.
And take your time and enjoy the coloring in.
Do another one.
So this is all about aura. And each one, when it spreads out, it just spreads out a little bit further.
And you can see that I can sort of sculpt the line a little bit, and that opportunity is really a nice, what's the word I want to look at?
Nice
comfort.
Thing in your toolkit, too.
Yeah, nice comfort.
And you can see how Maria rotated the tile so that she doesn't cover over the line she's auraing.
Always adding love as I'm going along.
And you have the advantage of, like on Diva Dance, that you can increase the width of any side of those elements.
I'm going to do this again. So all of these things we're doing so far are pretty simple.
And I really love this one because this is one of those, we always like to say that a tangle should be like a magic trick, that when it's done, it's like, wow, how did that happen? And you're looking at all of the basic components now.
Okay, so I'm going to start a couple more on this side. And the reason why I'm doing this, there's this, you want to see where it ends up. You want to do a couple on each side and then decide where to go from there, because you depending on your smile and different things, you want to do take some different action. So I can see here that we want to start towards the top now. I have that stem at the bottom, sort of a stem.
So you didn't go all the way to the very end on
Right.
this one, right?
Sort of like maybe 2/3 of the way up, or I don't want to be too specific, but
already it has this very organic feel to it, but the way you do it is very structured. Again, all about the aura, and then just spreading out a little bit up at that line. What's neat is you get this really nice blend of light, of line and solid here.
yeah, it's dynamic and it's striking. We did this at Zen again, I think.
Yeah. So Zen again, we're referring to an event that we have, like a reunion of our teachers. And so we released a lot of new tangles, and you can see these and others we're doing in this Project Pack series. And if you go to our newsletter and look back, you'll see we always, or when we introduce them, we'll introduce them in the newsletter.
So I'm going to keep doing this, and this smirk or smile is telling you where you're going to go. So you can see it. I gave it a little flourish at the end there just because I couldn't help it.
That's what you do, right?
That's what I do. So that's one side. We're going to flip this thing over and do it on the other side. So I think, we're going to start at that point about 2/3 or halfway. Either way, it'll work. It'll give the tangle a different dimension depending on how you use that.
Looks like a melting keyboard.
A melting keyboard, like a piano.
Yeah.
So that's pretty, just the way it is. It could
Right.
stand alone just that way. A little love.
Yeah, Maria always ends up going back and just doing a little bit of touching. And so once that part is done.
So now we're going to do a similar type thing, except we're not going to go all the way to the smile. We're going to leave a gap. So watch this carefully a couple of times before you jump in. And we're going to sort of mimic that line there. And we're going to leave that gap of white just as a different kind of a detail. That's something, I mean, you could probably go all the way and it would be fine, but it's going to add a real sense of light at that end there, at the tip.
Yeah, it really contributes to what we call the magic trick. And what you'll also notice that whether Maria was doing it intentionally or not, the gap between the bottom part and the top part is pretty similar to the gap between the elements, those different lines. And however that line is drawn, it doesn't really matter. You just aura it.
If you watch my left hand and my right hand, okay, and really look at it, my left hand is mostly turning, and my right hand is usually in the same spot.
So again, coming down and, right, just sort of mirroring what's on the other side there. And filling that in. And just keep doing this. Very similar to the other side. And there's what we would call the takeoff. When Maria does that, enlarging, it like gradually takes off from that line. So there's like a nice smooth transition. Slightly retracing it. And filling it in. And you can see like on the other side where she started in the middle. So now on this side she's starting in the middle. Very similar to how on the other side.
So now it's getting to be three-dimensional. And what is it? Is it a plant? Is it a fish? Is it a Chinese lantern? I don't know. What do you think, Rick?
I think it's some. It's like a flying jellyfish that doesn't need water.
Or maybe an umbrella that can be used upside down and right side up.
In either direction, yeah.
Oh, when did I add that other little thing there? So we're going to add another smile. It's almost touching the first one you see. There's the smirk. Now we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to go behind here. Fun. And watch this. You didn't know it, but these guys are translucent.
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
And you can make them show through anywhere you want.
Right.
What's neat about this tangle in this particular tile is that this is an example of the two introductory tangles that we do, which is aura, or crescent moon, demonstrating aura, and then drawing behind, demonstrated by Hollabaugh.
So now you can see the two lines there, and it's like, oh wow, that's magic. It's weaving in and out.
Mm-hmm. And that can go in and under wherever, and you're gonna come up with really crazy different ideas, and be
Open.
Be open to wherever your pen may take you unexpectedly, because this is a very flexible tangle, and it can adapt to all sorts of motions, and it's very fluid and very plastic.
And transparent.
And transparent.
So it's so organic that it's just naturally going to look different than mine. I mean, it's almost impossible to have it look exactly the same, right? I added that other thing and you didn't.
I know, I keep missing that. It's like there's this little dark transition, like a little bit of crescent moon in there.
Yeah. Or is it diva dance?
Or diva dance, yeah. So the same rinse and repeat on the other side. Go up and find the match that mirrors but leave a gap.
It's always fun for me to bring out something that I have in my head and demonstrate it, and then watch what people do with it, because I've been watching the mycelium come out in different places, and all over the world, and everybody's take on it, and then their ideas about, well, but I could do this and I could do that, and things I would not have thought of.
Right.
So that's what I love about Zentangle, is that the combination of all you beautiful artists out there helping me to design these things and then take them to a level that just is just so spectacular. So I thank you, all of you people that have been doing something a little bit different. Okay, I'm going to do one that's going to kind of hover on the edge here. So the smile becomes not quite a smile. Here, a little smirk.
But going right up to the edge. Just sort of a neat composition. And where am I going to go, and just seeing it and then doing it?
It's going to dance around it. I bet you were wondering what I was going to do with that, right? because they're so flexible, you can make them bend over backwards or whatever. How cool is that?
They also play really well with other tangles. And part of the reason we chose this one is obviously because this is the Blossoming Tangle series. This is such a great example of a tangle that is blossoming and floating, as it were, in free space, and just grows however you would like it to grow. And it can fit into, because it is so fluid and so, malleable, you can fit it into all sorts of different spaces. You can play with the gap between the lines, how thick those ends splay out. So many variables.
So I think the design of the half mycelium can hold its own too. Okay, I kind of like that. So with the 05 gray pen that we have in the kit here, I'm going to aura around the spaces. Give it some something to work with. And this is an 05, so it's a nice soft, not too pointy kind of tip.
And I like what Maria just did there is instead of, going all the way around, it's almost like she's doing these pavers, or
right.
tiles.
Well, I want to fill them with something, and it's easier to have defined, like you say, like a paver, than to worry about having it go around the stem.
Mm-hmm.
So these individual mycelium pieces will now become part of a composition. So it's going to tie everything around and make it more of a pattern than just hovering beings.
And this is one of the beauties of aura, is that aura itself can create a space which can then hold other patterns, which is what Maria's doing here. And the same thing applies within a tangle. You could use the spaces within a tangle to put other tangles.
So now it's kind of holding together as a pattern. So I'm going to go back into each section that we just created and put like a nice orb, a good size orb. You can see according to my pen about how big it is. I think I'm going to put 2 in this one, just because I can.
And as you're doing these on your own, perhaps you're watching this and then getting ideas that when you do yours, you'll think, I'm going to try this, or I'm going to do that differently.
Yeah.
And that's what we're hoping you'll do. And, take this inspiration and run with it.
So I'm going to swing some lines off those orbs. So in a 9 shape, you can see it looks, if you put the orb and make it curve around, it's like a 9.
Using that takeoff principle, like slightly tracing it before you leave.
This concept, and it comes from one of your tangles, Rick. What was
I think it was Cadent.
Okay, cadent, like you're going around there. I was thinking of yeah.
Yeah, but that principle is so good in Well or in Huggins, or anytime you're transitioning from one shape to another. If you just retrace that shape a little bit, and you can see when Maria ends, she's also in some cases landing, not just abruptly stopping at the line.
I'm going over the line.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
So it has a nice connected effect.
Mm-hmm. And this happens very quickly. So when, you would think that, oh, this is going to take forever, but it actually goes very, very fast.
Right, I like how you both take off and land. So the lines become part of each other instead of like a hard angle. There's a smooth transition. Turning her tile.
You can see that I'm always making number 9s and not going back and forth, always going around clockwise. That looks
fun.
Great just the way it is, but of course we're going to add more to it, yeah? So we're going to swing some curves off of those lines that you just put.
And again, that take off and land. See how that's going? Creating those other shapes within there. So that same drill, that same approach will go to other ones. You can always put more in between.
So now you're going to go to the right of those original lines that we put down. And there's the petal effect is going to go behind. It just makes the composition interesting instead of just pulling all of the petals so that they carefully meet in the middle, and it's just a more interesting approach.
And one of the advantages of turning your tile is that the shape of the line or the feel of the line or the weighting of the line is similar in all the orientations. So you could conceivably, draw the lines without moving the tile, but it would have a different look, or each one to the other, depending on which muscles you were using.
So you're probably it benefits you to turn off the video and do all of these and then go back afterwards than trying to keep up with me, because Rick kind of edited a few things out. So look at that. That's pretty, right?
Yeah.
I just pretended that.
But I love this as an example of those little things that you can do. What do I do with that space? Well, there you go.
So Aura here is your friend. Gives us a little more interest in 3 dimensions.
And if there's no room, well, that's okay. Yeah, even that just made a big difference.
So with the red jelly roll, I'm going to, you can't see me because you have to hold it sort of up straight. Just adding some red.
And having put that other aura in really makes a difference, sort of frames it nice.
So with my graphite pencil, we're going to show you a little bit of shading techniques that kind of work well. We're going to, on the place where those center lines went right up to the smile, to the smirk, that's where we're going to add the graphite. That's below. Or just a good place to start. You can see how it makes that top white line just pop out.
Mm. And we like the opportunity of working with really basic tools, the blacks and the grays here with a touch of red on these blossoming tangles. Look at how dramatic that is. You can really compare one to the other As beautiful as they are without the gray, it really goes dimensional with the gray.
It goes dimensional. I like that. I like that.
And it's so simple. So simple.
Well, it's all the lines and techniques we've taught so far.
You know, I think that's part of the charm of this, is that we're still working with really basic patterns, really basic tools, really basic principles. It's all the same. There's probably no end to how aura-ing and crescent moon, aura-ing and drawing behind could go together, right?
So we're going to just give it a little ring here, a couple of little details to make the stem have some character. So
it's like, is it a plant? Is it an animal? What is it? And just follow your intuition as you're, shading, and you can always be guided by, like, that's obviously behind, or what's behind, what's in front. Play with that. And know that with shading you can add emphasis, you can de-emphasize, you can lift things up by shading around it.
So you can see I'm trying to make that stem that's above pop out a little more.
And you always have a little bit of graphite left on your tortillon. You can go in and move it around, put it in different places.
So just keep in mind, and we talk about the shades of gray in Zentangle, that because we're working on a pattern, and there is no light source, because we can't have a light source on a Zentangle in a pattern, because it would always, the sun would be coming from all different, all, north, south, east, west. So it works. Somehow it still works without a light source in the pattern world. So don't be afraid, like, oh my God, the light source is here. I have to change it on every one of these, and it's not going to happen. So anyway, I'm adding some white chalk over the background, just to kind of push it away, push it behind, so that the mycelium pops out even a little more.
This is a really unexpected technique, because using white chalk on a white tile, but it really does, like, soften. It's like you're looking at those other shapes through gauze almost. It's really neat.
You can see the difference in just where that last one is, right?
Right, look at that. And sort of avoiding the red, keeping those sparkles. That's a great, great technique.
So with my pencil really on the side, I'm whacking that the lead right on the edge. You can see that it's leaving a little white,
the side of the paper.
The side of the paper, that, if you can even imagine, because Zentangle paper is a little bit thicker than normal paper, you can get that look, that little white highlight.
That's a great effect. Just bringing it in a little,
little things that add to a composition.
Right?
And you can see I'm really kind of going to town on this. Right. I'm pressing pretty hard, and I'm always kind of wiping it off with my hands and just getting rid of the excess. And a little bit of graphite doesn't scare me. I can always go wash my hands.
And just going back in, a little bit of touch, a little bit of texture. That's really neat.
Pretty, huh?
So let's get a chop in there, I think, right? That is beautiful. And here's just well, there was no room left, so, well, just go right over it. That's fun. So really have fun with this, explore it, and the more you play with it, as you're doing it, you're going to come up with some really great ideas of where you can take this. And we really look forward to seeing what those are.
Well, I'm having too much fun with the letters.
I can tell.
You're going to have to give me more time. So I'm adding white chalk on the opposite so that that line just glows with the sunlight, right?
Yeah, I think on this project pack, almost all of us have, like, after we put our chop down, we've seen something else like, oh, wait a minute.
Never say never, right?
Right? It does make a difference because you've got the dark and the light really coming together. So you can for sure use white chalk on white tiles. Nice. And even rotating it to see what you might add, turning it, looking at it, appreciating it. And we don't do it here, but you could lift it up and hold it at arm's length and get a sense of it from a different perspective.
So here's the original one that I had done. And you see these things, I go to do them the second time, they're always a little bit different. This one had a different look in the background. Mycelium, again, they never look the same twice, which is really fun. I love that.
So thank you very much for hanging out with us. We are so looking forward to seeing what you do, and we'll see you tomorrow for the next day.
Okay, see you later. Bye.
Bye now.